الرحيم ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم إنا نحن نحيي الموت ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهم لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون أأتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغن عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وأعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توسية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Brothers, before we get started, can I get everyone to stand up, please, with a loud salawat and move as far forward as possible? As far forward as you can come. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. I start in the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Dear respected brothers and sisters and elders, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Firstly, I start by sending my condolences to the Imam of our time, Imam Zaman alayhi salam, on the shahadat of the Lady of Light, Bibi Fatima al-Zahra. We are Muhibban al-Mahdi Youth Foundation. Welcome you to our two-night Fatemiyah Majalis with Sheikh Nabil Awan. It will be today and tomorrow, inshallah. Just a few announcements before we carry on. Just a schedule for the day. We will have a Marsiya by Brother Baqir Ghori, followed by the lecture by Sheikh Nabil Awan, followed by Latmiya. And then, inshallah, there will also be some food to take home. There is a creche facility downstairs for any brothers or sisters that have kids that would used to like that facility. That is available downstairs to use. In terms of toilets, the female toilets are downstairs and the male toilets are upstairs for anyone that wants to use those facilities. With the loudest of your salawats, can we please welcome Brother Baqir Ghori to the stage for some recitation in Urdu. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Bar Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. Karam majba بام گیا ہے کرم آج بالائے کرم آج بالائے بام گیا ہے زباں پر محمد کا نام آ گیا ہے زباں پر محمد کا نام آ گیا ہے کرم آج بالائے درودوں کی بارش ہے کونوں مکاں پر کہ آج انبیاء کا امام آ گیا ہے کہ آج انبیاء کا امام آ گیا ہے کرم آج بالائے میرے پاس کچھ بھی نہ تھا روز محشر نبی کا وسیلہ ہی کام آ گیا ہے نبی کا وسیلہ ہی کام آ گیا ہے کرم آج بالائے صلوات صلی اللہ علیہ بار دیگر صلوات پسلیاں ٹوٹ گئی زخم چھپایا نہ گیا پسلیاں ٹوٹ گئیں زخم چھپایا نہ گیا درد اتنا تھا درد اتنا تھا کہ حیدر کو بلایا نہ گیا رو کے حسنین کو دی فاطمہ زہرا نے صدا رو کے حسنین کو دی فاطمہ زہرا نے صدا جلتا دروازہ جلتا دروازہ جو فضا سے اٹھایا نہ گیا، جیسے جلتا ہوا دروازہ گرا زارا پر، جیسے جلتا ہوا دروازہ گرا زہرا پر، اس طرح سے کسی بی پہ گرایا نہ گیا، پوچھا ہے دل نے جو رخسار پہ کیسا ہے نشان، پوچھا ہے دل نے کہ کیسا ہے رخسار پہ نشان، ہچکیاں لگ گئیں زارا سے بتایا نہ گیا، پسلیاں ٹوٹ گئیں زر چھپایا نہ گیا، پر محمد و آل محمد صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم۔
صلو علی محمد و آل محمد. Thank you, Brother Baqir Ghori, for that amazing recitation. Before I call the Sheikh onto the stage, just a couple of announcements. The first one being, of course, with these events that take place, it takes a lot of time and effort, but it also takes money to organize these events. So we implore you guys, whatever you can give towards these majalis. We have a budget that we are trying to hit, and we're close to it, but we've not hit it yet. So whatever you guys can donate to the majalis, please do so. There'll be brothers and sisters stood outside with, if you want to donate cash, card, anything. It will be really good if you could do so. The other thing that we are looking for is volunteers. Of course, with these events that take place, there's a lot of organization that needs to be done, a lot of planning that needs to be done. So we would really appreciate if the brothers, sisters, there's desks outside for the brothers and sisters for anyone that would like to start volunteering with Muhibban. There is a volunteer drive that we're currently doing where we're on the search for volunteers. Whatever your category might be, whichever way you can help for the Imam of our time, it would be amazing to have you all on board. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Just a short introduction for the Sheikh. Sheikh Nabil Awan was born and raised in Peterborough, England. He then started his journey into Islamic studies in 2004 in the holy city of Qom. Before, in 2009, he graduated with a bachelor's degree in psychology and health studies from De Montfort University, Leicester. In 2016, he then gained his master's in psychology from the University of East London, and he has been serving previously as a resident alim and has been speaking for over 16 years all around the UK. So please, with the loudest of salawats, welcome Sheikh Nabil Awan onto the mimbar.
ما شاء الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي جعل الحمد مفتاحا لذكره وسببا للمزيد من فضله ودليلا على آلائه وعظمته ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي سمي في السماوات بأحمد وفي الأراضين بأبي القاسم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الهداة المهديين سيما أولهم أمير المؤمنين وآخرهم بقية الله في الأراضين روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء ورحمة الله على محبيهم ومواليهم وشيعتهم أجمعين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم ملعونين أما بعد قال المعصوم عليه السلام لفاطمة 9 أسماء عند الله في مقعد صدق عند مليك مقتدر. For the happiness of Hazrat Zahra Marziyah, for the enlightenment of the graves of your marhumin, of the graves of the shuhada, ulama and siddiqeen, for the safety of the followers of Ahl al-Bayt around the world, and for the safety and the hastening of the reappearance of Hazrat Baqiyatullah al-A'zam Arwahun al-Fida, please recite your loudest salawat. I can't believe that's your loudest salawat. Alhamdulillah, all praises due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who's Rahman and the one who's Rahim. We've gathered to commemorate the last narration of the shahadat of Sayyidah Zahra salawatullah wa salamuhu alayha. Allahumma salli ala. And inshallah, over the next 2 nights, we will be analyzing a hadith from the 6th Imam, where the Imam salamullah alayhi says, لِفَاطِمَةُ تِسْعَةُ أَسْمَاء عِنْدَ اللَّهِ. Says Fatima alayha salam has 9 names with Allah. This level of indiyat, we don't want to go into it in terms of the metaphysical stance of what it means to have names at the level of indiyat. But what we will do is try and look at 3 of these names and see what lessons we can derive and take into our lives. As I always say, and I'm no stranger to many of you, that Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, they came not just for us to hear their fada'il, or not just for us to cry over their masa'ib, but rather to take us towards our reality, to allow us to ascend towards the truth that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is no other truth in existence. Haqq is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything else is but an emanation of that truth. Everything else is but a ray of that truth manifest in different ways based upon the capacity of the individual to manifest the divine rays within themselves. But the absolute, if an individual wants to see the absolute manifestations of the divine rays, of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala personified in human form, then that is the wujud of Ahlul Bayt salawatullah wa salamuhu alayha. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. That is their wujud. They possess and they manifest all of the sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now we wanted to look at the names of Ahlul Bayt, or the names of Hazrat Zahra. And the names of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam are different to our names. Our names, the names that we give each other, we give our children, they're simply labels that are attached to a skeleton, a bag of meat, whatever you want to call yourself. They're just simply labels. But in reality, there is much more to a name. And we'll look at it slightly, and I'm not talking about the numerology, that is outside the scope of this lecture series and the effect of a name on a person, etc., etc. You've all heard that sort of stuff before. But when it comes to Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, their names are an indication of the sifat that they manifest, a particular characteristic of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that becomes zahir within them more than all the other sifat. Or a particular authority that they have been given over the makhluk. It is manifest in their name. It is indicated within their names. Or it is a window towards those specific attributes of God that they manifest. Although they manifest all of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but given the time, the particular situation that they are presented with, certain names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala manifest most within them. Our names are simply labels, but their names have actual meaning. They have an actual attachment to a role that they play. In a narration, someone comes to Imam Rada salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi. No, he says to the Imam, he says, Yabna Rasulillah, says, why is it that the Holy Prophet was called Abul Qasim? Imam Rada alayhi salam gives him one answer. Says to him that the Holy Prophet had a son called Qasim, and so he was called Abul Qasim, the father of Qasim. This man obviously was someone of a slightly higher capacity. So he says to the Imam, he says, Yabna Rasulullah, if you believe me worthy of knowing more, please explain to me a little bit more. He says, you know that Ali is Qasim. Yani Ali is Qasimun Nari wal Jannah. Ali will be the one that distributes, that will separate those individuals, those that are going towards heaven and those that are going towards hell. Says, if Ali is Qasim, then Rasulullah is Abul Qasim. Says, this is a level above it. In another narration, again attributed to the 8th Imam, another companion comes. And now here, Zahiran, it is, this companion is closer to the Imam. The Imams would reveal or would tell certain information to certain people based upon the maqam that they had, based upon the attributes and the characteristics that they had as well. So he asks the 8th Imam. The Imam alayhi salam says, when the Holy Prophet went on Mi'raj, and as he went into that realm of Qaba Qawsayn or Adana, Lahut, as it's known istilahan, but you know, the names make no difference. He gets to that realm, and as he's leaving, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says to him that, oh Ahmad, oh Abul Qasim, go, for you are a guider and you have been guided. So the Holy Prophet descends back down into the realm where Jibra'il is, and Jibra'il asks the Holy Prophet, Ya Rasulullah, what was the conversation that happened between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And the Holy Prophet tells him. And then at the end he says, as I was leaving, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said to me, O Abul Qasim, you are guided and you shall guide. So Jibra'il asked the Holy Prophet, says, did you not ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala why it is that he called you Abul Qasim? And the Holy Prophet says, no. The greatness, the majesty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stopped me from being able to pluck up the courage and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about why it is that he addressed me as Abul Qasim. At that moment, a voice is heard, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls out. He says, "Oh, Abul Qasim," he says, "we have named you, we have given you this title of Abul Qasim لأنك تقسم رحمة مني بين عبادي, so that you may distribute my rahmah amongst my ibad, amongst my servants." So the names of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam are direct indications of certain ma'muriyat, certain jobs or positions that they were given here within this dunya. And so names are extremely important, especially when it comes to Ahlul Bayt and us as the followers of Ahlul Bayt. When it comes to, say, the Zahra herself, she is Fatima. The sixth Imam says, وَإِنَّمَا سُمِّيَتْ فَاطِمَةً لِأَنَّ الْخَلْقَ فُطِمُوا عَنْ مَعْرِفَتِهَا. That she has been named Fatima for this reason, that mankind will always be deprived of knowing her, truly being able to understand who she is. Or that she's been named Fatima for her Shi'as have been removed from the fire of hell. Or she has been named Fatima for her enemies shall be forever be deprived of knowing her and loving her. So all of these indicate back to her. Our names are just simply labels, but we hope by giving each other, our children, the names of Ahlul Bayt alayhimu salam, that we may be in line for their intercession or receive some element, some ray of that divine attribute that they had to, so that it manifests within ourselves. We have it on the Day of Judgment that the caller will call out, say that tell Fatima to come forward. And all the Fatima will stand up. All the Fatima that have ever existed. They'll all stand up, come forward. And the caller will call out, say, no, we meant Fatima bint Muhammad, the daughter of Rasulullah. We didn't mean all of you. But at that point, Sayyidah Zahra says, no, Ya Allah, I want all of these that were given my name to also receive my shafa'ah on this day. And the shafa'ah of Sayyidah Zahra is something amazing when one looks at it. From amongst, other than Rasulullah, from amongst Ahlul Bayt, there are two individuals whose shafa'ah on the Day of Judgment is much greater and more wadih than all of the other A'imma. One is Abu Abdullah and the second is Sayyidah Zahra herself. Inshallah, if we get tawfiq, we'll talk about some of those narrations. So having these names has some sort of effect upon us. Someone comes to the sixth Imam, says to him that I was blessed with a son. And the Holy Imam says to him that, what did you name him? Says, I've named him Muhammad. Says that the Imam began to bow his head, saying Muhammad, Muhammad, Muhammad. And then he said to him, barakah is in that house within which there is someone named Muhammad. Blessings are within that gathering within which there is someone named Muhammad. And blessings and barakah are within that friendship within whose circle there is someone, a friend by the name of Muhammad. So these names have an effect. Now we've moved to sort of these new age names. We won't move away from the names of Ahlul Bayt alayhimu salam. Oh no, because my cousin, sister's friend's auntie has a child named Fatima, so I don't want to name my child Fatima anymore. Or I don't want to name my child Ali, because my cousin and his kids are called Ali. And so we try and search for new age names on the internet, which we have no idea what they mean, but they just sound cool. And so we're like, oh, you know what, just stick that on our kid. Many children will complain on the Day of Judgment. There are narrations that they will complain about the names that their parents gave them, because every person will be addressed by their name, will be called out in front of everyone. And when they have some new age weird name that has zero to little meaning or zero to little association with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they'll feel embarrassed on that day as they're called out in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they will complain to Allah on that day about their parents who gave them names that were not associated to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One day Imam Sajjad, he's walking in the street and Marwan Mal'un comes to the Imam. He says to him, what's your name? Zahir, and the Imam is young at this time. And Imam says, Ali. Ali ibn al-Hussein. He says, and you have another brother. What is his name? Your older brother. Ali Akbar. He says, his name is Ali ibn al-Hussein as well. He says, did your father not know any other name but Ali? He says, your father not know anything but Ali? And he walks off, and Imam Sajjad goes home. He tells Imam al-Hussein what happened. You know, that in the street, Marwan came, he said this, did your father not, could he not think of any other name? And Imam al-Hussein says, what does that man know? If I was blessed with 100 sons, I would name them all Ali. I would name them all Ali. These names, they have an effect. And it is one of the signs of our tawalla, our tabarra, when we name our children, when we give these blessed names to our children and our future generations. It's a sign of our standing against the oppressors. It's our sign of showing our love for Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. Nonetheless, Hazrat Zahra has 9 names with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I want to look at 3 of them, inshallah. Today I want to look at one of those names, that is Siddiqah, the truthful one. Now some have translated Siddiqah as being the one that is truthful. Alama Majlisi says no, Siddiqah is one that does tasdeeq, one that reaffirms, one that supports the claim of the risalat of the Holy Prophet. But Siddiqah is the one that from head to toe is truthful. Her words, her actions are nothing but truth. And this maqam of sidq, this maqam, this position of truthfulness is one that is the maqam that the awliya of Allah reach. There is not a single wali of Allah that is not truthful. And one that achieves this is 100% ma'soom, 100% from the awliya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why in the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Kunu ma'as-sadiqeen, that be with those that are truthful. And the sadiqeen here, Mufassirin say that this is Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, that every single one of them is sadiq, every single one of them is truthful. But how does it apply to us? That if she salamullah alayha is siddiqah, she is truthful, then surely me, as one of her lovers, as one of her claimants to be her Shia, should have some manifestation of that truthfulness within me. And truthfulness is in 2 parts we'll look at. There are many other parts to it, but we don't have the time to go into all of them. We'll look at 2 parts today. One is the truthfulness of the tongue, and the other is truthfulness in action. The truthfulness of the tongue, you know, the tongue is that one thing where it will take you either towards heaven or it will lead you to hell. And the majority of people in hell are there because of their tongue. You know, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he has a saying, he says that this tongue, its weight is small. It doesn't have much weight. But yet, the crimes that it commits are huge. This tongue will lead a person, you know, from the 70 gunahane kabira, 70 greater sins, 20 of them are related to the tongue. Ghiba, tuhmat, hypocrisy, false testimony, all of these come back to the tongue. If one can rein in the tongue, bring the tongue under control, then they'll be saved from a number of spiritual ailments, and they'll be able to achieve many spiritual maqamat. We have many ahadith that, you know, silence is the door to wisdom. Silence is the cry of the Anbiya, is the slogan of the Anbiya. So being able to control this tongue has huge amounts of benefit to the individual on their journey towards Allah. Allama Tabatabai was once asked that how is it that we can concentrate in prayer? I stop my mind from wandering and thinking about where I put my car keys or what I have to do afterwards or what I'm going to eat for lunch or what time I need to pick the kids up. How is it that I focus when I'm standing to pray? And Allama Tabatabai, his reply was not do this, do that. He just said, control your tongue. Speak less. He says, the more that you speak, the more noise, like you speak generally. There's some people who they just talk all the time. They don't like awkward silences. They don't like silence. They'll just talk about something. Some people get nervous and they just end up talking about things. So says that if you want to create that concentration within your prayer, says reduce the amount you talk, because the more you talk, the more noise it creates in your head. And so when it comes to a time when you actually have to try and concentrate, you can't clear your head. So speak less so that the noise that is in your mind is reduced and you're able to concentrate. Someone came to Ayatul Bahjat as well, similar question, but this time they turned around and they said, do you have a dhikr, a dua that I can recite? Some sort of a'mal, something, whatever it is, that I can recite so that I can concentrate in my prayer. And Ayatul Bahjat replied, he says, these matters are not matters of dua. They're not matters of prayers. These are matters of fundamentals within a person. If I put it into our terms, it's not a matter of software, uploading new software onto your system, but rather it's a problem within your hardware. That no matter how much dua you do, you come and you do tasbih and you do all of that, but if fundamentally within yourself, you're someone who excessively talks, you're someone who, is unable to control their tongue, then you won't be able to clear your mind, to be able to concentrate in prayer, to be able to concentrate in your a'mal. You see people that come and they'll be sitting for the a'mal of Laylatul Qadr and they're like rocking back and forth, looking for a wall, stretching out their legs, like they're not praying to God. Like they're just doing it because their parents dragged them along. The fact that we can't concentrate, the fact that we sit down and we're reading a dua and then flicking forward a few pages to see how much of this thing is left, shows that I don't have that concentration. And so one of the ways of being able to bring that concentration into the mind is by talking less. Even though what I may be talking is not haram. I'm not doing ghiba, I'm not doing anything, but just that excessive talking creates that noise in my head. But yes, excessive talking then does also predispose us to many other issues. It opens the avenues for me to sin. Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi. He says, Man kathura kalamu, kathura khata'u. Says, the one who talks a lot will err a lot. Just because of the sheer amount of talking he does. Someone who drives, for a living, and they have 2 accidents in the year, one would be like, well, that's acceptable because this person drives a lot. But you have someone who doesn't drive at all, not going to have any accidents. So he says the one that talks a lot will err a lot. So reducing the amount a person speaks will open up those doors of wisdom. And then having that truthfulness in speech, that when I'm speaking, is it what I'm saying is the truth? Or is it a half lie? Is it me sort of spinning a yarn, spinning a tale of some sort to be able to get myself out of a situation? many of our default conversations or our default jokes that we have amongst our friends start on the premise of a lie. Everything, you know, I'll be like, oh, this happened, and they'll be like, no way, and we're like, nah, I'm only joking. So I started with a lie. There's no truthfulness in my basic speech. If I want to unlock higher spiritual realms or abilities or whatever you want to call it, I need to make sure that my speech is absolutely truthful. There was a class that was happening, and one of the Hausa teachers, he put a task to all his students. He said, for just this term, so 4 months, says that who will be willing to join me in a challenge? What's the challenge? Says, for this term, you will not speak a single word of a lie. You won't lie. So it's difficult if you think about it. So he says, who's going to do it? Nobody. One person put their hand up in the class, said, okay, I'll do it. So it's okay, fine. From tomorrow, you will speak only the truth, you won't lie. Says, okay, no problem. So the task was, speak only the truth, don't lie. Now when we look at it, we're thinking, yeah, you know what? Doable. I just won't speak a lie, and anything I do say will be truthful, and I'll try my best at it. An hour later, the student comes back. Says, look, is it okay if I cancel that promise that I made? Said, why, what's wrong? Says, I left class and it was the time for salah. So I went to pray, and when I began to recite my Surah Fatiha, and I said, Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'een, I realized, wait, hold on a second. I'm not being truthful. Because it isn't that I solely worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I solely seek help from Allah. I stand up every single day and I recite these lines, but do I really live those lines? No, and Imam Khomeini was in the Hausa, say that one day one of the students came looking for him Tuesday night, and they couldn't find him. So on Wednesday morning they saw him and they said, oh, you know, I came looking for you yesterday. Where did you go? Says, oh, I went to Jamkaran, told 100 lies, and I came back. Because you know the salah for the Masjid Jamkaran is that line of Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'een. You repeat it 100 times. So I told 100 lies and I came back. Because in reality, do we really live that Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'een? Do I really have it within my life? Am I solely focused on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the things that I do? I'll give you a very recent example. And I was telling the people in the students of Nottingham Absok, where's Faizan? This part's a repeat, where is he? So I was telling them there that, you know, during the World Cup, there was Ayyam Fatemiyah as well. The Majalis have been going on, and it was the World Cup, and there were other things that were happening. So people were coming to the masjid, and they're sitting down in the Majalis, or they're coming to the masjid, but in the corner they've got the football playing, because they need to monitor the score. The Holy Quran says, مَا جَعَلَ اللَّهُ لِرَجُلٍ قَلْبَيْنِ فِي جَوْفِهِ, says that we have not placed two hearts within the chest of an individual. Meaning a person only has one heart. There can only be one type of love that fills that heart. There can be no two loves in the heart of an individual. I look at that recent example and I ask myself that what love is stronger in my heart? Is it the love of Ahlul Bayt, or is it the love of football? Because if I was coming to the Majalis and it was for Hazrat Zahra, it was for Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, and I was claiming to love them, but the whole time I was distracted, either watching the updated score or being as cheeky as to watch the game on my phone while the Majalis was going on, then that shows that my heart is not filled with the love of Allah and Ahlul Bayt. There is something that has taken priority, a disease that has taken root. And so I can ask myself, which path am I going down? إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. How many salah was sped up because the game was about to start? How many salah were delayed because the game was going on? How truthful am I to myself? How much truth do I actually have within my own being? Or is it as the Holy Quran says, أَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهُهُ هَوَاهُ? Have you not seen those individuals whose desires have become their gods? They worship their desires. They don't worship Allah. Truthfulness is not just at the superficial level of speaking, but it is also when it comes to our worship. How truthful are we with that? And then more important than truthfulness in speech is truthfulness in action. How sincere, how truthful are my actions? Are my hands that do certain actions, every action that I do, is it one of purity? Is it one of truth? Because I can talk a good game, and sitting up here, I'm absolutely perfect. But does it translate to how I am off of here? Coming into the masjid, everyone's great and everyone's holy. Does it translate to how I am at home? The same mu'min that is sitting here, is it the same mu'min at home? Or is it at home you would see no semblance of iman anymore? The Muslim, the Holy Prophet has a hadith, says the Muslim is the one who others around him are at ease from his hands and his words. He will never do, she will never do anything in order to hurt or offend another person. Their words, their actions will be such that they don't seek to hurt anyone's feelings. This society that we live in, that we are being indoctrinated in, is one of fake facades. What I show myself to be on social media, is it what I actually am? That desire to be known, that desire to be wanted, that desire to be liked. Why is it that I just need to, have this desire to be, everybody wants to be a life coach nowadays. It's the new thing. Everyone wants to be a life coach or an influencer or something or other. And it's just, I went to Tesco's and I brought some coffee beans that said, I don't know, Sumatra on there or something, and now I'm holding them up to the camera, taking them out, putting them in, putting a filter on and going, freshly brought from the foothills of the Sumatran jungles, fresh coffee. I'm going to try it out and let you guys know what it's like. It's all a facade. We have slipped so far down the ladder. Forget being untruthful to other people. I can't tell myself the truth anymore. And I don't want to hear the truth anymore. Because the disease has taken such a root within me. And the society that we live in encourages it. It encourages hurting other people's feelings. How many of us, a friend unfortunately fell asleep in one of our gatherings? How many of us have taken a photo of that friend and then shared it with everyone else, or a video because he was snoring? To show everyone, haha, look at him, he fell asleep, he was snoring so loud. One day the Holy Prophet is sitting with his companions, and one of the companions remembers something, whatever it is, and in the middle of the gathering he stands up and he runs. He has to go home for something, so he runs out. As he reaches the door of the masjid, he realizes he's forgotten his shoes. So he turns back to come and get his shoes, and his friend that was sitting there quickly hides his shoes under his leg. So now this guy comes back, he's panicking, looking for his shoe, and everyone's laughing and joking, haha, we hid his shoes and whatever. And the Holy Prophet's just observing. And the Holy Prophet says, this is not acceptable. This, what you are doing to another believer, even out of jest. You make, when you look at like making fun of people, or even bringing fear into the heart of a mu'min, by scaring them. This is haram as well. There are narrations that talk about these people that will be eternally damned because they created fear in the heart of another believer. How truthful are our actions? The Holy Prophet is sitting, and there's an old lady that walks by, and the companions are like, mashallah, this lady, she prays, she does everything. She's really a pious lady, Ya Rasulullah. But the only bad thing about her is she got a bit of a harsh tongue. She's got a bit of a sharp tongue. The Holy Prophet says, then she is one of the dwellers of hell. Forget all your salah and everything. Says if you haven't got the basic decency in how to speak, says all of that aside. A companion of the Holy Prophet is with him, dies in the battle. The Holy Prophet digs the grave. The Holy Prophet lowers him in the grave. The Holy Prophet recites the talqeen. The Holy Prophet recites the salat al-janaza over him. Buries him. Does dua for him. As he's walking away, the young man's mother comes running. Says, glad tidings of Jannah upon you, my son. The Holy Prophet says to her, be quiet. Says, why, Ya Rasulullah? Says, your son is currently facing adhab in the qabr. Says, Ya Rasulullah, he died a shaheed. You buried him, you did dua for him, you did talqeen for him, you recited his salat al-mayyit, and he's still getting adhab. He says, yes, he was a good companion to me, but he was harsh with his wife and children at home. And so because of this, he's receiving adhab at this moment. Don't look at the outward. We have a hadith from 6 he says that don't look at the length of a man's ruku' and sujood. Says rather, he may be doing it out of habit. Because he's been doing it for so long, he may be doing it out of habit. And he's afraid to leave this habit. Rather look towards his truthfulness and his trustworthiness. How truthful is he? How trustworthy is he? Don't be bought in by someone just because they recite a beautiful salah, or they recite beautiful Quran, or they recite a beautiful Majalis, whatever it may be. Look at the person's truthfulness. Look at their trustworthiness. This is what matters. The actions of a person, do they reflect that truthfulness? The one that doesn't pay khums, the narration say that this person is a thief. Nobody likes being called a thief. This person is a thief. Why? Because he's taking the haqq of the Imam and the Sadat. The one that doesn't pay khums is eligible for khums. The one that is eligible for zakat and doesn't pay his zakat is a thief that steals from the right of the poor. So how truthful am I really? Other narrations say those that sell things, they've got a B grade product and they've got a small amount of A grade product. They mix the A and the B together and then sell it as an A grade product. Says that person's a thief. That person's a thief. Those that take one droplet of the water of Zamzam into a big bottle of tap water. Zamzam. The one that doesn't pay his khums, zakat, person is referred to as a thief. So what I'm saying in my words should also reflect in my actions. There's no point me just standing and praying and saying all these lovely things if it's not manifesting in my actions. Zayd ibn Suhan is the brother of Sa'sat ibn Suhan. Both great companions of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Zayd ibn Suhan is that person that when Salman was governor of Madain, some of the people came to him and said, can you hold a dars of Quran for us? Listen to us, teach us, rectify our Quran. And Salman said, look, I'm a Persian. My pronunciation is not like that of the Arabs. Find an Arab, go to Zayd ibn Suhan. He will teach you the Quran. And then Salman attended the classes, added a few bits, but the majority of it was led by Zayd ibn Suhan, this individual. A Za'id person, an individual who had become an ascetic, had lived this Sufi lifestyle. And so he'd begin to become a recluse from society. And so Salman heard about it. So he went to the house of Zayd ibn Suhan, he knocked at the door, and the wife of Zayd answered. And he said, where is Zayd? He says, oh, he's at this place, he's not at home. She says to him, okay. He says to her, okay, that's fine. He says, do me 2 favors. He says, the first is that prepare some food for me so that I may take it to him. And the second is that you beautify yourself, because he'd removed himself from his whole family and his responsibilities at home. So Salman now goes, takes the food, goes to the masjid where he finds him, and he says to him, Zayd, here's the food. Here's some food, eat it. He says, eat it? He says, no, I'm fasting. Mustahab fast. Salman is Salman, over 200 years old. He hasn't got time for this. Salman picks up his walking stick. He says, you're going to eat it or I'm going to hit you over the head with this. So he says, eat the food. So he makes him eat the food. Then he says to him, now go home. Because what is this lifestyle that you're leading? Says the Holy Prophet of Islam was the greatest of all of creation. He had a time for Allah, he had time for his family, his wives. He spent his life equally this whole reclusiveness and I'm just dedicating myself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, no, go. So individuals that sometimes misconstrue that truth. Truth must manifest in both our actions, in every aspect of our life. Because when there is truth, there is justice. When there is truth, there is that balance. And Zahra alayha salam is Siddiqa. She's the manifestation of that truth. Every aspect of her life that you look at, she has that manifest truth within it. If it comes to her relationship with her father, he is compelled to call her Ummu Abiha. On the Zahir, because of what it is that she did for him. The Urafa and the mystics have a different, other, more deeper, beautiful understanding of this title of Abiha. But because of what she did for her father, all of the things that she did, the care that she gave him, he calls her Abiha. You look at her married life, have someone like Amirul Mu'mineen, when the Holy Prophet says, how is it that you found Zahra? He says, Na'mal aun fi ta'atillah. Says, the best friend, best companion that I could have asked in what? In the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When it comes to her final days, Amirul Mu'mineen says, I had never ever had any reason to be angry with you. I had never any reason to be upset by you. Rather, he would say that whenever I would enter into the house, the moment I would see her blessed face, all of my sorrows would leave. The relationship of Amirul Mu'mineen and Zahra is something special. The love that they had. The conversations, unfortunately we only hear about like the musibah and things, but you look at the conversations that happened between husband and wife, the joking that they did with each other, the different, conversations and outings that they had with each other. It's a whole different aspect to the life of the Lady of Light that we don't know. When it comes to her worship was such that the nur of her face would illuminate the heavens for the dwellers of the heavens, like the stars illuminate the earth for the dwellers of the earth. And it's there that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He addresses the angels and say, what is this light that is emanating from earth? He says, this is the light of my servant Fatima. Says, she is the reason. When you asked me before, when I created Adam, that they will spill blood, and I said to you, you do not know what I know. Says that I knew that I would have a Fatima. Her maqam is huge. She, salamullah alayha, is the protector of imamat, not just imamat, the protector of risalat as well. لولا فاطمة لما خلقتكما. This famous hadith Qudsi that many people misinterpret and says ghuluv, or they'll say that it is showing who is greater, showing that Hazrat Zahra is greater than Amir al-Mu'mineen and the Holy Prophet. It's nothing like that. The whole narration is Ya Ahmad lawlak lima khalaqtul aflaq. Oh Ahmad, had it not been for you, I wouldn't have created anything. وَلَوْلَا عَلِي لِمَا خَلَقْتُكَ. And were it not for Ali, I wouldn't have created you. وَلَوْلَا فَاطِمَةَ لِمَا خَلَقْتُكُمَا. And were it not for Fatima, I wouldn't have created either one of you. They say, why is it the case? The explanation given by the ulama is this, that the purpose of mankind is what? عبودية ما خلقت الجن والإنس إلا ليعبدون. We do not create the men or the jinn except that they may worship. And the greatest of abd from amongst all of the servants that was created is the wujud of the Holy Prophet. Subhanallazi asra bi'abdihi laylam. He is the greatest abd of Allah. He is the way that the people learn how to do ubudiyah. He shows them the path of ubudiyah. He shows them the manifestation of ubudiyah. And that message of the Holy Prophet would have been lost were it not for the continuation of the wilayat of Amirul Mu'mineen and the system of imamat. And Amirul Mu'mineen, that imamat would have been lost were it not for the khutbahs that Zahra alayha salam gave, were it not for the stance that she salamullah alayha took that preserved both imamat and risalat. For this reason, lawla Fatima lima khalaqtukuma. It's all one system, one nur, one emanation. She is Siddiqa. And that name is with Allah. So imagine then that when she returns, having given her khutbah, with tears in her eyes, she says, Ali, the pain is not this, that they took away the haqq of Zahra. The pain that I have is that they called me a liar. The one that was Siddiqa. Now the Muslims call her a liar. Which masa'ib of this lady do we recite? So many musibah after musibah. These days, these ayyam Fatemiyah that we have, the days of her mourning, the days of her own crying, her own marthiyah, that she's standing at the grave of her father. Subbat alayya masa'ibun law annaha subbat ala al-ayyam sanna layaliha. What is it that Siddiqa is saying? That, oh Ahmad, oh my father, those tragedies, those sorrows that have befallen me, were they to have fallen upon the brightest of days, surely they would have become the darkest of nights. What is it that Zahra faced? And you have heard over the nights that her father died. Some narrations say that the Muslims didn't even wait a day before they turned up to the door of Zahra. And the Holy Prophet made it clear within his life, this is Baytul Zahra, this is the door of Zahra, this is the house of Zahra. Because he knew their enmity in their hearts was for Ali. But Zahra was that thing that they could, that entity that they could not deny. But when that hypocrisy took root in their hearts, they came to the door of Zahra. They stand outside the door, a group of them. One mal'oon calls out, Ya Ali, ukhruj lil bay'ah. Ali, come out, give bay'ah. If you don't, we'll set fire to the house. The narration says, Qamat al-Zahra, Zahra alayha salam stood. She took permission from Amirul Mu'mineen and she went towards the door. She stood there and she said that, what is it that you want? He turned to her, he said, Zahra, why is it that you have come to the door while Ali hides behind curtains in the house? This is a matter for men to deal with. You go sit with the women, send Ali out. She says, Amirul Mu'mineen is inside the home. This is the will of Rasulullah. They say, Zahra, send Ali out or else we'll burn down the house and all of you within it. She says, O enemy of God, do you seek to scare me? Says, surely the enemies of God, the hizb of shaitan is weak. They say, Zahra, if you don't call him, we will set fire to this door. He begins to call for firewood to be brought. They bring the torches to the door. Zahra alayha salam stands behind the door calling out, Ya Rasulullah, Ya Abata. Oh Father, look what they do to me after you. Zahra alayha salam stands by the door. They say that Kunfuth tried to open the door. Zahra pushed back against the door. The doors of that day were not like the doors of today. Those doors had gaps within them. They say, seeing the hands of Zahra, he took his whip, he whipped the hand of Zahra with such force that Zahra alayha salam pulled back her hands. Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam says, up until the last moments of her life, the black mark was on the hands and the arms of Zahra from that whip. She pulls back her hands, she calls out again to Rasulullah, she beseeches Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At that moment the mal'oon comes, he kicks open the burning door. Zahra is crushed between the wall and the door. A nail in the door pierces into the ribs of Zahra. He writes in his letter to Muawiyah, when I realized the daughter of Rasulullah was behind the door, I pushed even harder. Zahra falls to the ground. She calls out, Oh Fidda, come and help me. They've killed my child. Zahra falls to the ground unconscious. They enter into the house. They tie ropes around the neck of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Ali's eyes gaze upon Zahra lying on the ground. Ali looks towards the heavens. Ilahi sa'idni ala Musabi Fatima. Oh Allah, give me patience on the musibah of Zahra. Oh Allah, let Ali bear this difficulty for your sake. Oh Allah, Ali is patient upon that which you have commanded him. They begin to drag Amir al-Mu'mineen from the house. They say at that moment Zahra again stood in the way. She said, let Ali go. He turns towards his slave. He says, Kunfuth, what are you waiting for? Move Fatima out of the way. He comes forward. He slaps Zahra. She falls to the ground. He takes the cover of his sword. He begins to beat her. She lies on the ground. Zahra falls unconscious. Ali is dragged towards the masjid. They drag Amir al-Mu'mineen towards the masjid. Zahra unconscious in the house. They say when she returned to her conscious state, Zahra forgot about the child killed within her womb. She forgot about the rib that was broken. The first thing she said is, where is Ali? Where have they taken Amir al-Mu'mineen? They said to her, Bibi, they've taken him to the masjid. Zahra alayha salam, one hand on her rib, one hand on the walls of Medina. Zahra makes her way to the masjid of the Prophet. She enters inside the masjid to find Ali with ropes around his neck, a sword towards his neck. They're trying to force Amir al-Mu'mineen to give bay'ah. Zahra stands there, she says, release Ali. Nobody listens. Again Zahra calls out, release Ali. When the second time nobody listens, Zahra says, by Allah, if you don't release Ali, I will raise my hands and pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to curse each and every one of you. At that moment Amir al-Mu'mineen looks towards Salman. He says, Salman, go and tell Zahra to return home. Her father came as a rahmah to this ummah. If she does dua against these people, Allah will send qiyamah on Medina. Salman goes towards her, says, Bibi Amir al-Mu'mineen has said, go return back to the home. She says, Salman, how do you expect me to go? Ali is in this state. He says to her, Bibi, Ali himself has requested that you return back to your home. Zahra goes back. Amirul Mu'mineen returns back to the house. But these days that passed for Zahra were very difficult. They were very difficult for her. I don't know if any of you have ever suffered from a broken rib, but breathing becomes difficult. Sleeping becomes difficult. Laying becomes difficult. And so these ayyam, these days that passed, these were the days where Zahra Marziya couldn't even lay on her bed for pain. The narrations say that she, salamullah alayha, to sleep some moments of the night would leave the room and sit on the floor leaning against the wall to be able to sleep. Day by day Zahra became weaker, as the sixth Imam says, Nahilatul Jism. Zahra became weak. Baqiyatul Ayn. Zahra was constantly crying. Day by day as Zahra became weaker, the children in the house, for them it was difficult to see their mother in such a state. Those that have mothers that are ill, those that have seen their mothers go through illnesses. How difficult is it for grown children to view that? So then how difficult would it have been for those young children of Zahra alayha salam to see their mother in this state? For Amirul Mu'mineen to see that Zahra that was always smiling, now always crying. How difficult was it for Ali to see or not see his wife run towards the door. Every time Amirul Mu'mineen would enter into the house, she would run towards him to greet him. But now Zahra, unable to stand, unable to walk, unable to breathe much. But there comes a day when they see that Zahra alayha salam has stood. She's begun to clean the house. She's prepared her children. She's placed new clothes on them. She's doing all of the housework herself again. The children are happy. Asma looks towards her and says, Bibi, you look so much better now. Amirul Mu'mineen looks towards her and says, Zahra, alhamdulillah, it seems that you are getting better. So Zahra, inshallah, Allah will continue to give you strength. He turns to walk out. Zahra alayhi salam says something to him that makes Ali stop. Says, Ali, this is my last day on this earth. Amirul Mu'mineen stops, he runs back towards her, begins to cry, says, Zahra, what are you talking about? Are you talking about leaving Ali? Says Ali, when I was sleeping earlier, I saw my father in my dream. And I told him everything that this ummah had done to me. I told him everything that all the oppressions that this ummah had done. And he told me that Zahra, today is the day that you shall return back to me. They say Amirul Mu'mineen sat down with Zahra. He held on to Hazrat Zahra and Ali wept loudly. Ali cried loudly. Hazrat Zahra told him, Ya Ali, this is my will. She gave him a will. What was it that Zahra wanted? There were many different things that she said. One of the things was, Ali, when you cry for me, make sure the portion of your crying, you cry for my aitam, for my orphans. You cry for my Zainab and my Hassan. And Ali, and amongst that crying, make sure that there is a special mention, a special remembrance of that son of mine that will be killed on the plains of Karbala. Then she says to him, Ali, I want you to bury me at night. غسلني في الليل, give me ghusl at night. حنطني بالليل, give me hunut at night. Give me kafan at night. Make sure that my enemies do not know of my burial. I don't want any of them to attend. Amirul Mu'mineen listens and he weeps. A short silence ensues as both of them fall silent. Then Zahra herself begins to weep loudly. Amirul Mu'mineen says, Zahra, why is it that you are crying now? Why are you crying so loudly? You are leaving, you are being freed from the shackles of this dunya, you're returning back to your father. Says Amirul Mu'mineen Ali, I don't cry for my own sake, I cry for what will happen to you after my death, what they will do with you after my death, Ya Ali. Zahra, if only you could see how Ali spent his nights after you. There was no one that could bear the sorrow of Ali, and so now Ali must go out into the deserts and dig wells and speak into the earth all of his pains, all of his sorrows. Zahra alayhi salam, as the time of Maghrib approaches, she sends her children towards the masjid. Amirul Mu'mineen goes. She turns to Asma. She says, Asma, I will retire to my room. As long as you can hear my dhikr of tasbih, know that I am still alive. But from the moment that you do not hear it, know that I have left this world. Asma says, I paced outside the room of Hazrat Zahra impatiently. I could hear. At one moment, the dhikr of Zahra stopped. She says, I ran inside the room. I called out to her, Ya bint Rasulillah. There was no reply. I called out to her again, Oh Fatima. There was no reply. Ya Sayyidati wa Mawlati. There was no reply. She says, I was thinking to myself, how will I tell Hasanain alayhim salam? How will I tell Ali? She says, I came out of the room, and at that moment, Imam al-Hassan and Imam al-Hussein entered into the room. She says, I looked towards them. They realized that something was wrong. They ran past me. Imam al-Hassan entered into the room first. He threw himself on the chest of his mother. He called out, Oh Hussein, oh Hussein, come quickly. Our mother has left this world. We have become orphans. Imam al-Hussein runs inside the room. He places his head at the feet of his mother. He says, Ya Ummah, oh mother, Ana Hussein, I'm your Hussein, Kallimini, speak to me. قبل أن يفارق روحي من جسدي, before my soul leaves my body. Asma gathers the children. She says, go and inform your father, Amirul Mu'mineen, as what has happened. The children run towards the masjid. They enter into the masjid of the Prophet. Ali is sat by the grave of the Prophet. He sees Imam al-Hussein enter, calling out, crying out, Matat Ummuna Zahra, our mother Zahra has been killed. That Ali, that was in Khaybar and Khandak and Badr and Uhud, that Ali that was the conqueror of every battle, whose feet never faltered in the face of any sort of challenge. That Ali, when he lost his mother, he slapped his head and he cried. When he lost his brother Jaffaria, he said, my back has been broken. When he lost Rasulullah, he cried, but Ali's feet never faltered. But the moment that he heard that his Zahra had left this world, they say Ali stood, فَوَقَعَ عَلَى وَجْهِهِ, Ali fainted and fell on the ground. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the sake of these tears, Ya Allah, forgive our sins. Ya Allah, forgive the sins of our parents. Ya Allah, those of our parents that are alive, give them long lives. Those of our parents that have left this world, give them a place next to Ali Muhammad in Jannah. Oh Allah, those who are ill, give them shifa'ah. Those who are in debt, clear their debts. Oh Allah, give us tawfiq to be able to see the rebuilding of Baqir and the shrine of Sayyida Zahra. Oh Allah, give us tawfiq to go on the ziyarat of Ahlul Bayt, especially the ziyarat of Abi Abdullah this year and every year. Ya Allah, give us tawfiq for Hajj and Umrah this year and every year. Ya Allah, keep safe the azadar of Sayyid al-Shahada wherever in the world they may be. Ya Allah, destroy the enemies of Tashayyu in whichever form they may come. Ya Allah, hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time and allow us to be amongst his true Multadreen, Matam Hussein.
دستار سے وہ ماں کی، دستار سے وہ ماں کی ردا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شے کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شے کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شے کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شے کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، وہ دستار سے وہ ماں کی، دستار سے وہ ماں کی ردا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شے کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شے کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شے کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، ہائے آواز رن سے آئی کہ بابا میں گر پڑا، آواز رن سے آئی کہ بابا میں گر پڑا، گرتا ہوا حسین، گرتا ہوا حسین صدا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شے کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شے کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شے کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، وہ دستار سے وہ ماں کی، دستار سے وہ ماں کی ردا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شے کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شے کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شے کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، ہائے جس ہاتھ نے گرایا تھا ہم شکل مصطفیٰ، جس ہاتھ نے گرایا تھا ہم شکل مصطفیٰ، نیزہ لیے وہ ہاتھ، نیزہ لیے وہ ہاتھ ردا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شے کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شے کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شے کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شے کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، ہائے جس ہاتھ نے گرایا تھا ہم شکل مصطفیٰ، جس ہاتھ نے گرایا تھا ہم شکل مصطفیٰ، نیزہ لیے وہ ہاتھ، نیزہ لیے وہ ہاتھ ردا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شے کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شے کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شے کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، دستار سے وہ ماں کی، دستار سے وہ ماں کی ردا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شے کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شے کی ابا تک پہنچ ایسے گری ہے میں اکبر کی لاش پر، ایسے گری ہے میں اکبر کی لاش پر، زینب کا خون آ کے، زینب کا خون آ کے شفا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شہ کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شہ کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شہ کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شہ کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، ایسے گری ہے میں اکبر کی لاش پر، ایسے گری ہے میں اکبر کی لاش پر، زینب کا خون آ کے، زینب کا خون آ کے شفا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شہ کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شہ کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شہ کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، دستار سے وہ ماں کی، دستار سے وہ ماں کی ردا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شہ کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شہ کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شہ کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، آواز رن سے آئی کہ بابا میں گر پڑا، آواز رن سے آئی کہ بابا میں گر پڑا، گرتا ہوا حسین، گرتا ہوا حسین صدا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شہ کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، اکبر کا لہو شہ کی ابا تک پہنچ گیا، ویر دمک تل گاتے ترے بہنیاں یا رل کے، ویر دمک تل گاتے ترے بہنیاں یا رل کے، ویر دمک تل گاتے ترے بہنیاں یا رل کے، ویر دمک تل گاتے ترے بہنیاں یا رل کے، ویر دمک تل گاتے ترے بہنیاں یا رل کے، ویر دمک تل گاتے ترے بہنیاں یا رل کے، ویر دمک تل گاتے ترے بہنیاں یا رل کے، ہے ویر دمک تل گاتے ترے بہنیاں یا رل کے، ویر دمک تل گاتے ترے بہنیاں یا رل کے، ویر دمک تل گاتے ترے بہنیاں یا رل کے، ویر دمک تل گاتے ترے بہنیاں یا رل کے، انج لاش تے آ جنیاں ویر تو پتھر ہٹا کے، انج لاش تے آ جنیاں ویر تو پتھر ہٹا کے، ترے بہنیاں یا رل کے، ویر دمک تل گاتے ترے بہنیاں یا رل کے، ویر دمک تل گاتے جگدا سلطانے ایگال دائر مانے دو جگدا سلطانے ایگال دائر مانے ہوں دیجے سر تے چادر رہندی کفن پوا کے ہوں دیجے سر تے چادر رہندی کفن پوا کے ترے بہنیاں یا رل کے ویر دی مقتل گاتے ترے بہنیاں یا رل کے ویر دی مقتل گاتے ترے بہنیاں رکھو ویر دی مقتل گاتے دو جگدا سلطانے ایگال دائر مانے دو جگدا سلطانے ایگال دائر مانے ہوں دیجے سر تے چادر رہندی کفن پوا کے ہوں دیجے سر تے چادر رہندی کفن پوا کے